Good morning, everyone. 208th meeting of the Audit Committee, Metropolitan St. Louis District, Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2022. Roll call by the chair, please.
All right, we'll note who's present.
Approval of the committee meeting minutes, July 5, 2022.
So moved. Second.
No comments by the chair. The external audit, please, Todd.
Okay, good morning. My name is John Strawman. I'm filling in for Tim this morning. He's on vacation. Today we have one item on the agenda. It is the review of the external audit by Clifton, Larson, and Allen. And presenting virtually, we have Stacy Young from CLA, and she'll go over the presentation that you guys should all have in front of you. You will also have a copy of the 3 retirement plan end of year financial statements. Stacy, are you on the line?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, perfect. So again, my name is Stacy Young. I am a director at Clifton Larson Allen, and I've been a part of the MSD plans for several years now, managing and supervising associates, previously under Jacques Throw and currently under Andrew Zabel. So today, as John mentioned, I'm here to present the financial statements of the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District plans. If you could advance the slide, please. So the audits have been completed, and the financial statements we're going to review today are available to be approved by the committee. We were engaged to express an opinion on the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021 for the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District Employees Pension Plan, the District Defined Contribution Plan, and the Deferred Compensation Plan and Trust. At the conclusion of our audits, we issue a 114 governance letter, and if applicable, we would issue an internal control findings communication letter as well, which we'll discuss those later. On the next slide, so our audits are performed using a risk-based approach, and we spend time in each audit area based on the level of risk that was assessed. So we first review the internal controls related to the plan, and we design our audit approach. We're looking at employer contributions related to the defined contribution plan and the pension plan, making sure those are calculated correctly, looking to make sure that they're remitted properly. The employee deferrals, we're making sure that elections that the employees are making, that their contributions are properly withheld and properly remitted to the plan. This year, we spent a little extra time looking at the new provision that was added to the deferred compensation plan. There was an auto enrollment feature added at 1%, so we spent a little more time looking at that, making sure everything worked properly. We're looking at investments, testing those alternative investments and non-alternative investments. So for the alternative investments related to the pension plan, we're sending independent confirmations, recalculating the valuations, and making sure that the values per those confirmations agree with the financial statements. Notes receivable from participants, also known as the loans, are only related to the deferred compensation plan, but we're looking at those, making sure that the loans that are initiated by the participants are within the loan provisions defined by the plan. Participant data, looking at demographic information and making sure that that's properly included. Participant data is used for eligibility, vesting purposes, benefit payments for all the plans. We're looking at those on an individual basis, testing those to make sure that what was initiated by the participant is what's being paid, and of course that they're being approved. We're also looking at those in total, year over year, making sure that analytically the increases or decreases in benefit payments are making sense. The benefit obligations for the defined contribution and deferred compensation plan are a little bit different. We're just testing allocations from the plan to participants to make sure that those allocations are reasonable. The actuarial valuations related to the pension plan, we're reviewing those, making sure that the data assumptions that management has approved are consistent with what we see in the industry. We're looking at the census data that the district is sending to Milliman, and making sure that we're testing that census data and verifying that the information that's given to them is reasonable, and then completing the valuations. Lastly, area that we look at a little bit more analytically are the plan expenses. And we're just looking at those to make sure that they make sense with the investment totals, the participant directed activity, and such. Moving into the plan highlights for the pension plan, the fiduciary net position at the end of this year was approximately $350 million as compared to $327 million last year. Investment income was approximately $33 million as compared to approximately $37.5 million in prior year. Investment manager and advisor fees are approximately $1 million this year as compared to $900,000, last year. Contributions for the pension plan, which again are calculated by the actuary, those contributions were $12 million in the current year and $13 million in the prior year. Benefit payments in the current year were $20.6 million as compared to $19.2 million in the prior year. Admin expenses, $115,000 compared to $108,000 in last year. And then total participants are about the same. So we're looking at 1,400 in the current year as compared to 1,422 last year. So not much of a change in the plan participants in that plan. Moving into the deferred compensation plan. The current year net position is approximately $108 million as compared to $93.5 million in the prior year. Investment income was approximately $14 million in the current year as compared to approximately $16 million in the prior year. Investment manager and advisor fees, $147,000 as compared to $135,000 last year. Contributions up $5.3 million as compared to about $4.8 million in the prior year. Benefit payments, $127,000 as compared to $130,000 in prior year. Oh, gracious. I have an error. I apologize. Sorry. So benefit payments were $4.5 million in the current year as compared to $3.5 million in the prior year. Admin expenses, $127,000 as compared to $130,000. And then total participants are still pretty consistent, 807 as compared to 813. I apologize for that typo there. And I think it's on the next, I have a typo on the next one too. Net position on the defined contribution plan, $23 million in the current year as compared to $18 million in the prior year. Investment income is pretty comparable here on this plan, $2.7 million as compared to, well, $2.8 million in the current year as compared to $2.7 in the prior year. Investment manager and advisor fees, $23,000 in the current year as compared to $19,000 in the prior year. Contributions are $3 million as compared to $2.7 in the prior year. Benefit payments, $842,000 as compared to $407 in the prior year. Admin expenses, $64,000 as compared to $66,000 from the prior year. And then total participants in this plan are up a little bit, 601 as compared to 583. We've moved into the next slide. These next slides are really discussing our required communication letter and listing our responsibility under generally accepted accounting standards. So we're, it's our responsibility to express opinion on the fair presentation of the financial statements and in conformity with GAAP. Plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. We're evaluating your internal control over the financial reporting, utilizing a risk-based audit approach as previously mentioned, and then communicating any significant matters to plan management and the committee. Our audit was performed in accordance with the planning and timing previously communicated with plan management. As it relates to our financial statements being included with other information with the district, we ask that our financial statements just be used in their entirety. And approval, we ask for approval when our audit report is used in any other kind of document. And then we had no responsibility to perform additional procedures beyond the financial statement procedures. For significant accounting policies, it's management's responsibility for identifying the accounting policies of the organization. All of those are outlined in each of the financial statements in Note 1. There have been no significant changes to any of the accounting policies over the prior year. We've determined the accounting policies are appropriate, and we noted that no unusual transactions occurred during the year. As far as the financial statements go, we look at significant accounting estimates, and for the financial statements, those include the actuarial assumptions used to determine the net position liability and the pension plan and the valuation of investments, including those that don't have a readily determinable fair value. Estimates are determined by management based on their knowledge and experience. It does not appear that any management bias were used in determining those estimates. We deem those estimates to be reasonable, and no uncertainty was used in the financials or disclosure of the financial statements. Moving into the next slide, financial statements are neutral, consistent, and clear. No significant transactions lacked authoritative guidance. The financial statements include required supplemental information and other supplementary information. We do not express an opinion or any assurance on that information. We do read it to make sure it's consistent with the financial statements. We are not aware that any methods have changed in preparing that information, and we deem that supplemental information is appropriate related to what we've audited and what's presented in the financial statement. Plan management has reviewed all three financial statements and approved those financial statements dated July 22nd, 2022. Also included in our other communications letter are other items that would have occurred during our audit, but there were no difficulties encountered when performing our audits. No issues were discussed prior to retaining us as independent auditors. There were no disagreements with management regarding accounting, reporting, or other matters. No consultations occurred to our knowledge with other independent auditors, and no other findings or issues were discussed or communicated to management. We did not identify any adjustments that were required to be corrected, and there were no adjustments that we would have deemed immaterial that would need to go uncorrected. Typically, at the end of our audit, as discussed previously, we would present audit results in an internal control communications letter. As discussed, we're reviewing internal controls. Those internal controls are help us identify any deficiencies in internal control, but we are not testing those. We have not issued an internal control communication letter. We didn't find any, we didn't have any issues. There were no issues in our testing that were communicated to plan management, and we have no issues in relation to the items we tested or deficiencies in internal control related to our audit. The financial statement opinions issued on all 3 plans are unmodified, so the cleanest that you can obviously receive. And again, that last page, that last slide there. Again, no findings and no management letters are being issued today. So that concludes our presentation. I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to come and present these results. I want to thank Plan Management for all their efforts and work. It's always a pleasure working with your group. I appreciate all the work they put in, and just, overall great experience, and I appreciate that. Are there any questions that you guys have for me?
All right, no questions. Stacy.
Awesome, thank you so much, John.
Stacy, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, have a good day if you were releasing me, sorry.
All right, sounds good. Trustees, thank you. And I believe you guys should have a current and revised copy of the presentation that has the corrected numbers in there. But if not, just in case, I'll send that out again this morning after today's meetings so that you have it for your records. And Mr. Chair, that's all we have.
Thank you, John. Next meeting tentative date, August 30th, 2022. Meeting adjourned.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee. Oh my God.
There we go. Trustee Wilson will get things switched out and be ready to go here in just a couple minutes.
Thank you. President. I'd like to welcome you all to the August 2022 Stakeholder Relations Committee meeting. Can I get a roll call?
All right, we'll note who's present. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no comments by the chair. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the July committee meeting? So moved.
Second.
Thank you. No objection. Approved. First item, a business item on the agenda is Ms. Coleman. You prepared to, I'm sure you're prepared to present to us that the insurance resolution.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Trustee Wilson. Before you, I'm presenting adoption of Resolution 3773, which is the Insurance and Brokerage and Consulting Services. This is for Charles L. Crane Agency. They are our current broker for the insurances, the liability insurances that we have here at the district. And this particular resolution will allow them to have this contract provides insurance consulting broker services for the district. The resolution will exercise the district's 4th option year and authorizes the district to enter into a contract with Charles L. Crane Agency for 1 additional year. The contract was for 1 year with 4 option years, and the district will enter into the contract with Charles L. Crane Agency from September 1 of 22 to August 31st of 2023. Trustees, do you have any questions about this particular resolution brought before you?
This is the last year of the contract.
Yes, it is. This is the last of option years. Well, if there are no additional questions, I just thank you for your time on that resolution.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Sprague.
Yes, good morning, trustees. I have a resolution on the agenda for adoption on this board meeting, Resolution 3774. This resolution authorizes the district to renew an intergovernmental agreement with with REGIS, the Regional Justice Information System Commission. They provide data center co-location services, security monitoring, and some other services for us. This resolution will allow us to enter into a contract for option year 2 of optional 4 years of renewal. So this is the option year 2 renewal. And there'll be 2 more years possible after this. Is there any questions on the renewal of this intergovernmental agreement?
Trustees, are you all aware of what REGIS is? Is that a familiar organization? Does anybody have any questions regarding that? Okay.
Oh, real quick, are we I guess they're in the contracting business or the service providing.
Yeah, John, why don't you describe what REGIS does?
Sure. REGIS is the Regional Justice Information Services. So they provide governmental services primarily for the police and fire departments, but they host all the computers, provide security services, multi-factor authentication. So they've consolidated and provide those services for a lot of the fire and police, but they also do it for other governmental agencies, along with Bi-State, MSD, the community college, a couple of the other colleges and universities and things like that. So they're a government entity that provides these kind of services for other governmental entities, primarily the police and fire. And we've had a great relationship with them, and it's great services as well. They're just up the street about a mile.
Okay.
Any questions? Thank you.
Move right on to Ms. Meyer.
Good morning. I'm going to discuss proposed resolution number 3772. I believe everybody has already seen a copy of this. What would like your thoughts on today is whether this would be a suspension resolution or a repealing resolution. And I'll tell you up front, procedurally, there's no difference. So it's kind of a matter of preference. But a little background, Resolution 3702 was adopted back in September of 2021. That resolution set up 6 different sections that had regards to COVID, different things of employees being tested, subcontractors being tested, that sort of thing. Then in April of this year, we suspended 3 of the sections of that previous resolution. So now there is a House bill that has gone forward through the governor's office, House Bill 1606, and it will become effective on August 28th, 2022. What that House bill will do is it will prohibit political subdivisions from requiring a public employee to get a COVID-19 vaccine as a condition of commencing or continuing employment. So one of the sections of the previous 2 resolutions that survived both resolutions was that new employees coming into MSD were required to be vaccinated. So with the passage of this House bill, we need to do something with this particular resolution. So our options are either to suspend the whole resolution or repeal the whole resolution. If we decide to bring back any parts of the resolution, if that was our wishes, we would come forward with a new resolution anyway, regardless of if the previous resolutions were suspended or if they were repealed. So it's really just a matter of preference on what we want to do. Staff is recommending repealing, just because personally, I think repealing sounds a little more permanent than suspending. And if we repealed it, and that would do away with both of these resolutions that are presently on the books. And then if something changed and we wanted to come back with some more conditions, whatever they may be, we would do that in a new resolution. The one thing we always try to do with resolutions is refer to the previous resolutions so that when we go back in time, we can, find the history of the resolutions. You don't lose them. That would happen with this resolution regardless of if we suspend or repeal. So does the board have any thoughts on whether we suspend it or repeal the language?
I'm of the opinion that repealing is a more permanent, and that closes the door behind us. There's no confusion as to when is the suspension over. You're going to have to repeal it one day anyway.
Correct.
I would think.
Right. Okay, so then the proposed resolution 3772 that you all will see at the next board meeting will be the repeal of resolution number 3702 and 3745. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think it's you, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to apologize to Trustees Fair and Evans, kind of last minute on this topic on status of rate commission. I put some notes together. Didn't have time to forward them off to everybody. There's no action that's going to be required. This is just really a pre-update on where we are with the rate commission and the status of filling those positions. I will, after this meeting, it sounds like John Strawman's going to be sending you something anyway. I'll attach these 2 documents. So Trustee Fair, Trustee Evans, again, I apologize you don't have them, but I will forward them afterwards. Please stop me if you have any questions. These are out of very public documents. So first of all, what I really want to do is just give an update and let the board know we are with organizing, getting together the new rate commission for a rate proposal that's due at the start of calendar 2023. First of all, I just want to, the purpose of it, I'm just reading out of section 7.230 of our charter. What I want to point out, there is a requirement specifically the rate commission representative organization shall represent commercial industrial users, residential users, and other organizations interested in the operation of the district, including by way of example, but not by way of limitation, organizations focusing on environmental issues, labor issues, socioeconomic issues, community neighborhood organizations, and other nonprofit organizations. The charter does specifically indicate that the city of St. Louis County, or MSD is not eligible to be on the rate commission. I'm reading that to you because I will give you an update of who currently is going to try to stay on the rate commission, and you'll find that in the past we've kind of got a nice spread across all those categories. As far as the term of membership, the rate commission is set for a term of 6 years or completion of any unexpired term. The reason that's important, when the rate commission was set up, they're on 6-year terms, but they're 3 staggered terms, much like the Senate. So we've got groups of 5 in each group. So because we do rate proposals every 4 years, 10 organizations will be termed out and 5 are still on the rate commission because they're still within term. And I'm going to give you a status of those later and kind of explain where everybody sits. And there is nothing barring an entity from continuously being reappointed to the rate commission. There are no term limits for those. With that, for those who are here, if you turn to the second page, I'll just let you know where we're at now. I'm going to mention by name some organization, only those that are out in public because they previously presented. But just kind of give you a status. So as I mentioned, we've got one class of 5 organizations on the rate commission who will still be, their term will still be, they'll still be within term when we start the rate proposal. I've contacted them. 3 of them have already indicated they are staying. That's the St. Louis Council of Construction Consumers, the League of Women Voters, and Education Plus. The other 2, Lutheran Senior Services is still considering. Their delegate, who has been their representative, has retired, so they're trying to make sure they can fully participate. And then the Missouri Botanical Garden has decided to drop out of the rate commission process, and they won't be participating anymore. So those are the current members. So we've got 3 or 4 that will be staying. Past members, I've checked with them. Where we're at right now, there are 7 of them who have indicated they will be resubmitting and reproposing to be selected. That's the Home Builders Association, St. Louis County Municipal League, Missouri Coalition for the Environment, the City of Ladue, the Engineers Club of St. Louis, the Missouri Industrial Energy Consumers, and the Missouri Associated General Contractors. They have indicated they will be proposing again and proposing to the board that they be reappointed. There are 3 organizations who were previously on the rate commission who are currently still deciding whether or not they want to reapply. That's the Mound City Bar Association, the Greater St. Louis Labor Council, and North County Incorporated. And just like all of these, that indecision point usually comes because their delegate, who's really familiar with the process, has left the organization or is no longer available, and they're trying to make sure they have somebody who can participate in the process. We also have had contact from 2 other organizations who expressed interest in the past. We're going through the process with them. They're trying to decide whether or not they would like to be considered. Right now, we have asked that we set an end date right now of August 26th for folks to tell us whether or not they'd be like to be considered to be on the rate commission. If you turn the page, I just want to give you a sense of what the rate commission's workload looks like. They will meet for 165 days once we have submitted, the staff has submitted a rate proposal to the rate commission. Between November and February, they will have 2 to 3 pre-proposal business meetings. They last from 4 to 8 hours each. They have some business to conduct. They need to select officers. They have their own consultants, all 3 legal counsel, rate experts, as well as communications consultants. And they also need to review their own rules and see if they need to make any changes. They will have to this year because there was a slight change in the charter, which impacts their rules. Once we submit the proposal, staff's planning on submitting this in first part of March. Past proposal, there were 11 pre-scheduled rate proposal meetings that last anywhere from 4 to 12 hours. There's also 5 public hearings that the rate commissioners divide up as far as attendance. This process is like a public service commission process. It generates a lot of data and documents, so invariably there's a lot of homework for the commissioners. And I think what I'm trying to express here is it is a somewhat heavy lift, so you can understand why the organizations are wanting to make sure they have somebody available to be able to go through this. Just so you know, once the process is done, once they submit their recommendation, staff will submit a rate proposal, the rate commission will make recommendations, and then it'll go to the Board of Trustees. And that'll usually happen in the last quarter of calendar 2023. You can determine which one of those recommendations you wish to accept. And right now, tentatively, we set April 2024 as the date for any elections that are needed by the public. So all that's just background on what this process looks like. Immediately coming up for the Board of Trustees, the board is the ones responsible for selecting the rate commissioners. As soon as staff solicited at least 15 interested organizations, the past practice has been for these organizations that are already not serving, whose term hasn't expired, to make a 3-minute presentation to the Board of Trustees. The trustees then evaluate those organizations' proposals, compare them against the requirements in the charter to make sure you have a nice spread of the community and everybody's representative. And then you will pass a resolution or an ordinance indicating who those 15 organizations are for the coming rate proposal. And that'll probably occur sometime in September or October, depending on how quickly we can get folks interested. I'm providing you this information in case you get approached about anybody who might question you about, hey, can I be on the rate commission? My suggestion is have them call me. I spend a lot of time talking with organizations. They're wanting to know, their biggest concern is how much time does this take? And it takes 7 months of time. That's pretty heavy. So if you know of anybody, let me know if you'd like me to contact somebody. If somebody quizzes you, please let me know. We've had ads and solicitations out in papers. It's on our website. Like I said, we've had 2 folks who have expressed some interest, primarily from the ads outside of the group I mentioned. And I do have in mind 2 or 3 who have reluctantly said, yeah, call me if you think you might need something. But I kind of want to go through the folks who are volunteering first to make sure we can find at least 15 of those. So that's where we're at in the process. When we get to the point of setting up these presentations, I'll go through Chairman Evans. And we've done it different ways. We set up a special meeting in the evening to rifle through them. Sometimes you do it as part of the board meeting, just depending on people's schedules. But we'll make sure we coordinate with the Board of Trustees and figure out the best way to let those organizations do their presentations. So before I open for questions, again, I will forward this information, everybody, just so you know where we're at. I didn't want this to spring a big surprise on you in case you're quizzed about it. And again, I will forward all these documents out to you after this meeting. So I would guess I'd ask if there's any questions that anybody has about the process or the rate commission in general. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And our, there are 2 issues related to, no, 1 issue, I'm sorry, related to the rainfall. Brett, bring us up to date.
I'd love to. Thank you, Trustee Wilson. And good morning, other trustees. I have a short presentation here to talk about and summarize the recent heavy rains that we had last week on July 26th and July 28th. I can tell you we've been very busy since that happened. But if you'll turn to page 2, please. As I'm sure you saw in the news, we had a historic amount of rainfall, really started late Monday morning all through Tuesday morning. And I have some maps here to show you, but over about 2/3 of our service area, we had anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of rain, all in the shortest amount of time. If you look at the different indicators, it's categorized by our rain gauge network as a 500-year event. So we have about 110, a little bit more rain gauges throughout our service area that we operate and maintain. We collect this data. We do this so we can have very specific radar rainfall data. While the operation department takes care of the rain gauges, the information is passed along to our planning group and the engineering department, and they utilize that information to track these storms. So the 500-year rain event was mainly along the I-170 corridor or just a little south, and you'll see that here in a moment. It also hit our neighbors out in St. Charles and across the river in East St. Louis. But here locally, the river de Pear, you probably saw that. Wait a minute, go back. You probably saw that it had some issues down there. It actually came out of its banks in several areas. I can tell you it was very fortunate that the Mississippi River was at low level because it allowed that water to exit the river de Pear rather quickly. Otherwise, it would have created more flooding. And then I want to point out that all of the MSD's facilities, our treatment plants, our gate structures, our pump stations, all operated as they should, which is really good. If you go to slide 3. So this is one of our maps generated by our rain gauge network. And what you can see there is if you look at the red area, that's where the rain was about 9 to 10 inches across, coming down 170 there. And it fanned out north and south. If you come down to the yellow, that's 2 to 4 inches of rain. And what you'll see is that there wasn't much rain in the southern portion of our service area, and we actually received very few service requests from that portion of our service area. So it was really located north and northwest. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Slide 4. So what you see here, this is after we've gathered up all of our rainfall information, then we can take a look and see what the intensity of the storm was. And you see a lot of purple on the map there, and the purple means that it was a 500-year event. So supposed to happen once every 500 years. I think the last time we had an event similar to this was only about 15 years ago. So I don't know how we compare that, but it affected about 2/3 of our service area. So if you see the purple, the light purple, the orange there, and then a little bit of green, really our entire service area on the northern portion was affected by very significant storms. So if we go to the next slide. So then again, of course, we can't have just one storm. We have to have 2 storms. And Thursday afternoon, as I was sitting in my office and it started to rain, it just kept getting heavier and heavier. And we had about another 3.5-ish inches of rain in the afternoon. And this correlated to a 50 to 100-year rain event, kind of along the highway I-64 corridor. And then near North St. Louis, it curved around a little bit. Again, the river de Pear out of its banks, localized flooding in multiple areas, and our facilities worked as they should. You go to slide 6, please. So again, here's our rainfall map. You'll see the red there just north of downtown St. Louis, near North St. Louis. That's where the heaviest rain was, and that's in your 3.5 to 4 inches of rainfall, and it kind of curved around south. What this did was add to our already a very busy workload. But if you turn the page to page 7, again, you see the purple blob at the top there. 100-year rain event with it fanning out from there. So again, a very significant rain event right on top of one from 2 days ago. And if you'll go to the last slide, this is just a summary of the calls that we've gotten so far. As of yesterday morning, we had about 3,140 calls. About 2,600 of those were water backup calls, and you can see the breakdown under the water backup calls of the different areas. Blocked mains is when one of our sewers is blocked by debris or something like that, or maybe it caved in, something along those lines. And so we had 15 individual addresses affected. Now, some of these blocked mains may affect more than one address, but we had 15 addresses affected. You'll see the bulk there. The bulk was just the system was overcharged. 1,600 so far overcharged mains. We had a number that weren't related to anything MSD was doing. We do have a backlog still of calls that we need to address with our ratepayers and our customers. So we have about 540 of those. I imagine that's gone up since yesterday morning. And then we have some miscellaneous other calls there too. You will see we had a number of flooded buildings, general flooding going on, and then a number of miscellaneous calls, and those could be anything from a manhole overflowing, a blocked inlet, those types of things that we needed to respond to. I want to point out these two events together, our estimate is that the impact's about $2.5 to $3 million. And that comes mainly from the blocked mains, which we reimburse homeowners fully, and then overcharge mains that we have a reimbursement program up to $3,000 with a $100 deductible. But on average, our overcharge main claim is about $1,500. So we only pay for actual damages up to $3,000. And with that, that's all I have, Trustee Wilson.
Thank you.
Any questions or? We've been busy.
Thank you for the information. That's the last thing scheduled. Any other business? If not, and any trustee have any information they want to impart to the body? I'll entertain a motion. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Meeting is now adjourned. Pleasure of my life as usual.
Trustee Fair, we're ready to start when you are.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good morning. This is the 281st meeting of the Finance Committee of the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District. The minutes should reflect those present, both in person and via remote means. Can I get a motion for approval of the committee minutes from July 5th?
So moved. Second.
Okay, minutes are approved. I have no comments, so we will move to the Adjustment Review Committee report.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Trustee. We have Marion G. to present that report.
Good morning, trustees. As required by the district's wastewater ordinance, I'm presenting the quarterly adjustment review committee report for the period of April 1 through June 30th of 2022. During the quarter, there were 49 transactions resulting in an overall credit to customer accounts totaling approximately $769,000. The bulk of those transactions consisted of customer account adjustments, which totaled $743,000. Of that $743,000, 23 water agency adjustments totaled about $566,000. And that number is a little bit misleading, as one of the adjustments, which impacted a large commercial customer, totaled approximately $333,000. And that was due to a meter being set to read cubic meters instead of cubic feet. The water provider notified MSD that the error occurred over a 15-month period, and we made the necessary adjustments to that customer's wastewater billings. There was also a similar issue which impacted another commercial customer, which resulted in the issuance of a credit of approximately $90,000. So those two adjustments comprise 75% of the water agency adjustments that we made during that quarter. There were approximately $79,000 of adjustments made to remove accounts billed during periods of time in which the customer's water accounts were inactivated. We're notified by the water utilities when they cut off service, and so we have to retroactively go back and adjust that customer's account. There were $72,000 of adjustments due to reduction factor adjustments, which are reductions in volumes billed after a study by our Department of Environmental Compliance. These studies determine that either there is water that's going into our system, or in cases when water is not actually entering the system, like if there's an irrigation line or water is being used in the manufacturing process, then we will not bill that customer at their full volumetric levels. There were two write-offs which totaled $21,000 due to county tax and sheriff sales. The other category at the bottom of the report, these are actually billings. So there was an $858,000 bill to the Missouri American Water for their share of cost related to our Lower Merrimack treatment plant. And we billed $30,000 to the Bridgeton landfill for treatment-related expenses. So that concludes my reports. Are there any questions I can answer? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marion. We are going to move on to the operating fund portfolio.
Yes, thank you, Trustee. This is the board slide that you guys see every month, and there's not much change this month as in previous months. So I'll quickly run through the numbers right now. Total power at the end of July was just over $726 million, which is down about $20 million from end of June. And that's mainly due to larger than expected capital expenses throughout the month of July that haven't been reimbursed yet. Yield to maturity at 1.4% actually was an increase of about 25 basis points from last month. And that is due to a reallocation of our investments from cash into the market that I'll talk about in a second. The weighted average maturity for our portfolio really has not changed much from last month. And compared to the benchmark, as you can see, we lag the yield to maturity number of 3.07%. And that's just due to, as Tim talks about every month, the benchmark portfolio turning over every month, reinvesting in the current market, whereas our portfolio does not. It turns over much more slow at a rising interest rate environment. The benchmark yield to maturity will increase faster. Top right square is the sector allocation, and this is where we had the biggest change in the portfolio. At the end of June, our interest-bearing collateralized deposit percentage was just over 8%. We decreased that from to about 1.3%, 1.4%, and that was just reallocating funds from a cash deposit into the market with these rising interest rates now in the market, the Treasury bills yielding so much more, we needed to get the money out of cash and into the market so we can earn some extra yield. The Treasury agency and commercial paper is fairly consistent and similar to last month. Fund summary, bottom left-hand square, not much change there other than our debt project went down a little bit just to cover capital expenses. And the maturity distribution at the bottom right, not much change there. We are heavily weighted in the 0 to 2 year, and the benchmark is, as you can see, is more in the 2 to 3 year. That is all I have for the portfolio review. Is there any questions? Nope. Great.
All right, good, thank you. Can we move on to the resolution on banking procedures, please?
We sure can. That's my item as well. And this is a resolution. Go ahead. I'm sorry. This is a resolution that will be in front of you at next week's board meeting. And it is a resolution that will add a depository bank to our approved list of depository banks. We can only do business with banks that are on our approved depository list. So from time to time, we will add banks so that we can have relationships with them. And those relationships consist from anywhere from having a deposit with them, investment in them, in this case, letter of credits that we will get from them. So we do our due diligence. We do a bank review to make sure their financials are sound. We make sure that they have a presence here in the St. Louis area, and we also do a news search to make sure that nothing pops up. This resolution is for Midland State Bank that we'll be adding to our approved list. Now, again, similar to other approved lists, our commercial paper list and our broker dealer list, just because they're on our list doesn't mean we will have a relationship with them or we will do business with them. It just gives us the ability to and allows us to do it. Again, this is for Midland State Bank. Any questions? And obviously, we're bringing the resolution forward because we did the due diligence and we did the review, and the bank is sound and in good condition.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
If there are no other questions or other business for the committee, the next tentative meeting date is August 30th, 2022. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. The meeting is concluded.
Thank you.
Thank you, trustees. Trustee Nicholasison, we'll switch things out and get ready as quickly as we can.
32nd meeting of the Program Management Committee, Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. Can I get a roll call?
We'll note who's present. Thank you.
Approval of committee minutes, July 5th, 2022.
Second.
There'll be no comment by the chair. Engineering Department agenda items. Rich?
Good morning, trustees. Quite a few on the agenda this morning, so if you have any questions, please stop me.
Hold on, Rich.
Uh-oh. Having some technical difficulties here, or it's coming up blank. It's like it's all right. Looks like we're up and running. First item today is Kingland Sanitary Storage Facility. This action appropriates some additional funds for an existing construction project being constructed by Goodwin Brothers Construction. The work being done consists of the design and construction of a 1 million gallon underground storage tank, diversion structure, submersible well pump, adjoining valve vaults, and some additional monitoring manholes. The purpose of this project is to reduce I&I in the University City branch of watershed, to reduce building backups, and to relieve overcharged sanitary sewers. And yes, this is a consent decree project. This supplemental appropriation is for $40,000, and it's additional expenses necessary due to some costs for additional utility relocation costs beyond what we had planned for, and delays in property acquisition for the construction of the monitoring manholes. If you recall, just a few months ago, we were trying to get some monitoring manholes constructed for this project. We weren't able to get the easement, so we had to go to condemnation. I think we were able to obtain that without condemnation, but it did delay our project. So this supplemental request will bring our total appropriation to $7,040,000. Are there any questions? Thank you. Next item is a CSO volume reduction green infrastructure grant for Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Clubs. This ordinance authorized the district to enter into agreement with Fresh Coast Capital, doing business as Green Print Partners, to provide financial assistance through the Green Infrastructure Grant Program for construction of green infrastructure. The purpose of this project is to reduce combined sewer overflows to the Mississippi River per the long-term control plan and the consent decree. This project will reduce runoff with the installation of 7 bioretention basins and amended soils. The cost for the project is estimated at $950,000, and Fresh Coast Capital is requesting approximately $950,000 reimbursement for this project. The funding for this will come out of previous appropriations for green infrastructure, which we bring to you on an annual basis. And then there's also a map in your packet showing the location. Herbert Hoover's Boys Club and Girls Club is located on North Grand near Dodier. So you'll see on the map the location of the 7 bioretention basins. So this is being redeveloped by the Boys and Girls Club, and they'll be installing the green infrastructure around the perimeter to capture that stormwater before it enters our system. All right, moving on. Next item is a Coldwater Creek Wastewater Treatment Facility Repairs and Improvements Project. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a construction contract. The work to be done consists of the removal and replacement of the aeration control piping, including fittings, meters, and valves in the aeration control building. The purpose of the project is to replace this building piping that has reached the end of its useful life. This project will also modify the existing course screen gripper system and installation of new course screen unit with associated equipment and controls. The addition of the course screen gripper will improve the reliability of the grip removal system there at the plant. The district received 2 bids on this project. The low bid was from Plocker Construction Company. The bid was above our design estimate, and it was also above our planned 2-year appropriation of $10 million. Our 2-year planned appropriation was for 7.5, pardon me. And we will be appropriating 10 million, 5 million this year, and then 5 million next year. Plocker has committed to just over 17% MBE participation on this project, and that meets the goal of 17%. I will tell you, and we've seen it the last couple months, and I've got another pump station on the agenda tonight. We're seeing facility and pump station jobs running probably 10 to 20% above what our estimates are, primarily due to cost escalations we're seeing on the equipment side and just overall construction. Right now, we still are we're early in the fiscal year, but right now we are still on budget for the fiscal year. We're running under budget. Some of our design projects are going to be lower, we're projecting. So we're monitoring it and keep an eye on things. What we're going to do on this particular project is we're going to go back and determine if we really need to do everything. So it's possible that the second appropriation I bring could be less if we decide there's something that we don't need to do right now. So we are monitoring the budget and watching these prices. We haven't done a lot of sewer bids this fiscal year, so we're going to watch those real close as well. Are there any questions? All right, thank you. Next is our annual appropriation for our easement acquisition funds for our wastewater project. This ordinance appropriates $3,500,000 for fiscal year 2023 for staff to acquire necessary property rights by means of donation, purchase, contract, lease, or by the exercise of eminent domain in order to construct the combined and sanitary sewer projects that we have planned this year. And we anticipate this funding being used for about 200 to 250 properties that will be getting easements on. That's a little higher than we've had in years past, but we're working ahead, and you'll find a little later we've got a project that's planned through fiscal year 23 and 24 that has a large number of easements. We actually have a couple projects that have extensive easements, and one of those I'll be discussing later. So this annual appropriation of 3.5 will be utilized to acquire those. Right now, approximately 200 easements. We generally are doing anywhere between 150 and 200 new easements on an annual basis. Any questions? Okay. The next 2 projects are appropriating matching funds for projects that we have right now that we're constructing in cooperation with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The first one is the Harlem-Baden Phase 4 Sewer Rehabilitation Project. This ordinance authorizes the district to appropriate $2 million with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and enter into a supplemental agreement with the Corps as needed for the Corps to administer and construct a project in our capital improvement program. This project consists of rehabilitation of approximately 26,000 feet of 12 to 48-inch diameter combined sewers. The purpose of the project is to reduce combined sewer overflows by the rehabilitation of existing deteriorated combined sewers. Sorry about that. The Federal Resources Development Act of 1992, the district, we refer to that act as the WRDA Act, authorized the Corps of Engineers to design and construct combined sewer overflow and reduction projects for the city of St. Louis. The original ordinance authorized $15 million in federal spending. We've worked with our folks in Washington and the Corps, and we've increased that authorization now to $70 million. So quite a bit of money coming through that act. And we've broadened the scope to include the combined sewer area, both the city and the county. So we've expanded our areas where we're able to utilize that funding. Since the inception, we've approximately $35 million in federal funding we've been allocated through the Corps of Engineers to work on this project. So we still have about $35 million more to go. And then that's in addition to some of the newer funds that we're trying to access through ARPA and Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. There are additional projects planned on this rehabilitation project, so hopefully we'll get those here over the next few years. So as they get money, we participate, we appropriate our 25% match, and we proceed with the project. The next one, again, is a core project. It's the Infrastructure Repair Rehabilitation Corps of Engineers CSO program. Authorized the district to appropriate $2 million in matching funds with the Army Corps. Again, entering a supplemental agreement for the project. This project consists of the rehabilitation of approximately 20,000 feet of 12 to 48-inch diameter combined sewers. Again, to reduce combined sewer overflows by the rehabilitation of existing deteriorated combined sewers. The Corps' construction estimate for this project is $5,710,000. And again, our participation is $2 million. I'm sorry, it's $5,710,000, correct. This appropriation, again, is necessary for the funding for our allocation. Again, it will enable the Corps to complete the construction with the required match. Are there any questions? All right. Next item is a construction of a pump station, the Robin Hills #1 pump station replacement. It appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work to be done consists of the upgrades of the Robin Hills #1 pump station, which includes the rehabilitation of the existing structure, along with construction of a new vault and condition monitoring structure, and the installation of a new generator. The purpose of this project is to replace the antiquated tin can Robin Hills pump station and to add additional storage capacity for the 10-year storm event. The district received 4 bids for this project. Our low bid was from Kelp Contracting. The bid was above our design estimate, and our appropriation of $1,030,000 is above the proposed budget for the project. Kelp Contracting has committed to 17.02% MBE participation, which meets our MBE goal for the project. Are there any questions? All right. Next one is a construction project. It's the Meadow Creek Lane Storm Sewer Project. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work to be done consists of the construction of approximately 207 feet of storm sewers from 6 to 12 inches in diameter. The purpose of this project is to alleviate yard flooding in the 500 block of Meadow Creek Lane in the city of Warson Woods. The district received 5 bids on this project. The low bid was from Enterprise Sewer and Drain Incorporated. The bid was below our design estimate, and our appropriation of $85,000 is equal to the budget for the project. Since the project bid was below $50,000, there was no goal for the MWB participation. More than likely, there will be some participation, usually of some form, but they did not provide any as part of the contract at this time. Any questions? All right. The next item, I'll have a short presentation with it. It's the Black Creek Hattington Court Relief Sewers. This ordinance authorizes staff to proceed with further condemnation efforts, including filing of all the necessary court pleadings or documents leading to the acquisition of permanent easements and temporary construction easements on 27 parcels of grounds in the city of Ladue, University City, and Clayton, Missouri. The easements and temporary easements are needed to construct this project, which consists of the construction of approximately 8,000 feet of 8-inch to 42-inch diameter sewers and appurtenances. This project will provide for the elimination of 3 constructed sanitary sewer overflows, which are required to be removed by the consent decree. The purpose of this project is to alleviate wet weather building backups and relieve overcharged sanitary sewers. Currently, the district's been working with the property owners on this project and been unable to negotiate a settlement with all of them. The project requires 35 easements total. 8 of those have been required, leaving 27 for condemnation. We've been talking with these owners for throughout the design and working with them right now. Approximately half of the property owners that we have left have already entertained attorneys for the negotiations, and that's why we plan to bring this. So if you'll turn, there's a small little presentation, PowerPoint. Sharon, you want to bring that up? I'm kind of doing this presentation rather than going through each individual 27 properties. That information is in your packets if you'd like to see where those easements are and how much easements we're getting. There's also on closed session, we'll be discussing this project as well in closed session today. Second slide, again, we have a total of 27 parcels that we're condemning on. Originally, when I think we put this together, there were 30, but we continue to get easements every day. This is more parcels than we typically have on most of our projects. This is a very critical project. There's two more projects following this, so any delay on this one will cause us some issues. Again, most of the property owners were talked to during design. We've been talking with the municipalities. If you recall, the city of Clayton was involved in the design. Obviously, when you're in streets and in front yards, you want to get the cities involved, and there's even on the upper end, we've got more cities. Again, many of the owners do have legal representation. I have a feeling a lot of them have been talking and realizing it's something good for them to have. And again, we never stop negotiating. Not sure all of you were here, but some of the board members were here when we were doing the Deer Creek Tunnel project. Very similar situation. We brought 43 parcels for condemnation. And just kind of an update to kind of give you a feel, even though we're bringing these 27 properties, when we brought those 43 to you, we only ended up going to condemnation for 1. But what this does is it kind of gets the property owners, in a lot of cases, they won't even, return our calls or anything like that. When they get this condemnation letter, they realize that, hey, it's not going to go away. We're still going to need the easements. I think some people just think, oh, if I don't answer them, they're going to go away and we won't be able, they won't need the easement, but that's not necessarily the case. So I thought I'd give you a little background. There on the next slide, this shows the Deer Creek Tunnel. That tunnel's been completed, and the drop shaft at the very top of this drawing is where this project will connect to. So it's again part of a large sequencing of projects. If you go to the next, If you go to the lower right-hand corner, then that's that shaft at the end of the Deer Creek Tunnel. The line in red there on the map is the project that I have before you today that we're seeking the easements on. And then once that project's complete, the lines in green, there's two little smaller projects. Well, not necessarily smaller, actually, it's a larger project of 13,000 feet that has to be built. And both these projects have to be built before the completion of the consent decree, and they'll remove a total of 9 SSOs required by the consent decree. Just to give you some perspective, think about just taking, that's over almost 3 miles of sewers through neighborhoods, putting in a pipe, generally anywhere from 8 to 24 inches in diameter. So there's a lot of disruption. It's deeper, and we're gonna be there a while. So a lot of streets tore up. So we try to work with the property owners and coordinate all that. So it's a pretty critical project. Are there any questions? I covered a lot of stuff. All right. Thank you. If you have any questions before the meeting next week, feel free to give me a ring. All right. The next item is a design contract supplemental for the Coldwater Creek repairs and improvement projects. I discussed the construction project earlier. This appropriates additional funds and authorizes staff to amend a design contract with Donahue and Associates for the construction phase services for these repair and improvements. Again, the purpose of the project is to replace some equipment at the Coldwater Creek treatment plant. Donahue and Associates was the designer on the project, and then this appropriates a total of $175,000 for them to review shop drawings and to coordinate with our construction manager on the project. This appropriation is equal to what we had in the budget for the project. It was a planned appropriation, and again, it's a total of $175,000. On the MWBE side, this amendment for that $175,000, they anticipate just over 30% participation. Their original goal was about 31% participation. So right now they're going to be right at that at just under 30%. There's no MWBE goal for the project. Questions? All right. All right, the next 5 items I'm going to talk about are support services for both engineering and operations. These are generally either through engineering firms or through vendors that provide these services. The first one is a critical infrastructure assessment and asset investigation. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a contract. The ordinance authorizes the district to enter a contract with Trek Design Group. The purpose of this contract is to provide district staff with detailed information regarding sewer systems by performing services such as project inspection reconnaissance, field investigation of sewers and system structures, inspection prioritization and project setup, field verification, mapping updates, overflow monitoring, work order management, and post-inspection review. These services will form the basis for district's preventative maintenance and rehabilitation activities. These investigations also provide assistance for operations with their sewer cleaning and manhole inspection activities. This contract for critical infrastructure assessment is for $1,700,000. This contract is renewable for 2 additional years. This is the first year of the contract. The appropriation for vendor services equal that in the capital improvement program. The district, through our purchasing division, we'd solicited price and qualifications proposals for this project. We received 3 proposals. They're listed on the write-up there. Trek was a selected vendor based on 5 different criteria. There's no MWBE goals for vendor services, but Trek has committed to approximately 34% MBE participation with Gonzalez Company listed there. Are there any questions?
Hey, Rich, this is Amy Fair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I have a question about vendor services. I know we've gotten, there's been some criticism in the past related to, outsourcing items where people felt that, perhaps we could handle them internally. Can you just, with regard to any vendor services discussed, can you just tell why, our internal, groups can't handle these services?
In this particular case, a lot of the services are provided. Again, they do support our general operation, but a lot of the information that we utilize this one for is for engineering services. In other words, it supports future capital work, and it allows our operation folks to continue with the CMOM program. Obviously, Brett gives you a presentation of miles clean, miles televised, things like that, and to throw, rather than throw the one-offs or the support we need, we found at the beginning of the consent decree, we found it to be more efficient to outsource this, and that way they could respond directly to engineering. I don't know, Brett, is there any more that you would add, or?
Amy, this is Brian Holscher. I think just to expand on Rich's evaluation, when we started this program, we went through and tried to determine, especially on services that are on again, off again, what is the most cost-efficient way in order to provide resources. And it's either internal or else it's outside contracting. And so as part of that process, there's a list of them. Some things we'd contract in the past, we brought inside, actually staffed up. And other things we said, hey, especially things that are turn on, turn off, or have uneven loads, we go ahead and we contract for those outside. So that's a process we went through, as Rich said, at the start of the consent decree. Rich and Brett can provide any more detail, especially at a higher level for everything we do if you wish. Is that a sufficient answer?
Yeah, Brian and Rich, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
And actually, that kind of plays into the very next item, which is flow metering and monitoring. As Brian indicated, actually flow metering and monitoring, we initially started with external, we brought that internal. And one of our issues with flow metering and monitoring was there was a lot of technical expertise needed. And it was very difficult for operations to staff that with turnover. There's some consistencies that we get by outsourcing that, and our inability to keep that staffing level at the technical. And there's a lot of back office support that was particularly difficult to provide in-house services for. So I'll just go ahead with that one again. Flow metering and monitoring. Authorize the district to enter amendment number 1 with ADS. The purpose of this contract is to provide district staff with flow and level information on separate sanitary, combined, and storm sewer systems during dry and wet weather conditions at approximately 250 locations annually for durations from 3 to 12 months. This data is a diagnostic tool to be used to meet consent decree requirements, refine hydraulic models, and determine project effectiveness, and support our I&I investigations. The data from these meters is also used to support districts' ongoing programs such as CMOM, asset management, sewer prioritization, and stormwater control programs. Approximately 15% of the metering locations are installed specifically to provide data at regulatory and billing sites. The remaining 85% are indirectly support consent decree requirements by providing pre and post-construction data, updating models and support, and other engineering operational needs. After this amendment, the total contract appropriation will be $5 million. This appropriation is for $2,500,000, and this is the first renewal. We renew this contract. It's for a 5-year contract. Are there any questions? All right. The next item is for stream flow gauge operation and maintenance. This action appropriates funds and authorize our staff to enter into an agreement for fiscal year 2023, with agreement with USGS, U.S. Geological Survey, will continue to support and maintain the existing network of 40 stream gauging stations and 25 watersheds within the district. Stream gauge and rainfall amounts will be collected with stream discharge and determined for each gauging station. The data will be used to provide reliable flood peak and stage estimates for the use in hydraulic models or calculations at project locations within the drainage basin. The data and calculation methods are typically used for projects utilizing stream gauging information and stream discharge estimates. We also use them for water quality data and evaluation and monitoring, post-construction monitoring program for the long-term control plan and consent decree compliance. And there are numerous other planning activities we utilize this data for. For example, the rain events that Brett talked about earlier, one of the things we're doing is we're going out and we're collecting high water elevations and comparing that with some of the flood elevations that we have that are mapped throughout the district. But at these rain gauge locations, these 40 stream gauge, they not only measure the amount of water, but they also measure the elevation. So we're able to gather that data and take a look and see how the streams reacted to the rain events. So it's critical information. Again, it's a partnering with USGS. We're appropriating $504,750. It's below what we originally had budgeted. We work with the USGS on that, so it's about $100,000 below what we had in the budget. The total cost is about just under $600,000 for the project, and the district's completing about $500,000. If we had to do this program or set these stream gauges ourselves, it'd be extensively more than that. The USGS has this expertise, and then if we've been doing this probably with the Corps for close to 10 years, and it's very valuable information to us. Any questions? All right. Next one is a general service agreement for water quality support services. This is for my environmental compliance group. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to amend the contract with HDR Engineering. This is a second and final option year provided under the original contract. The purpose of this project is to provide water quality and other environmental regulatory support to ensure compliance with all of our environmental laws and regulation. This contract will utilize HDR to provide MSD with regulatory support for a wide variety of environmental issues. HDR will attend, along with district staff, MDNR, EPA, and other regulatory agency meetings. They'll assist with our review and comment on draft regulations and policies, and they'll help us evaluate and interpolate different environmental data that my staff does not have the expertise in. This appropriation is equal for $150,000, is equal to what was proposed in the CIRP, and there is no MWBE goal. And since basically the information and support is being provided just by HDR, they did not have an MWBE commitment, but we've seen in the past that they'll utilize, if necessary, a minority or woman-owned firms. So. All right, one more item. It's the Force Main Evaluation Program Support. This is a contract that supports our operations group. It authorized staff to enter the professional service agreement amendment for condition assessment of our force main inventory and exercises year option 3 of our existing agreement with Pure Technologies. Again, the inventory and condition assessment of our force main is a requirement of our consent decree, and they'll do non-destructive evaluation techniques, processes, or technology in order to do this work. The proposed agreement will be for 1 year with 2 more left on our options. And meet our consent decree requirement. And again, the purposes provision is to meet the requirements of the consent decree to actually inspect and do condition assessment on all of our force mains in a periodic interval. There's no appropriation. There's a $200,000 encumbrance within the operations for this contract for fiscal year 2023. There's no MWBE goal for the project, but Pure Technologies has set a commitment of approximately 30% with the firms listed on the write-up there. Are there any questions on this one? That concludes the open portion of the agenda items at this time. We do have a closed session item.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
We need a
So moved.
second.
You got to do an individual.
And you got to do a
vote.
roll
Yeah,
call.
second, okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Watson,
Yes.
trustee Nicholasison,
Yes.
trustee Wilson,
Yes.
trustee Fair,
Yes.
trustee Evans.
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session.
Trustee Nicholson, go ahead.
Can I get a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You're out of closed session.
Thank you, everyone.
Next
Oh,
tentative,
yeah.
next tentative meeting date for the Program Management Committee will be August 30th, 2022. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.